Gee, Shoshana, those are a lot of containers for a permaculture garden. You must not really be doing permaculture if you have all those containers. Well, actually, I am. I am definitely using permaculture principles in my garden, beyond a doubt. And the containers are actually an advantageous part of my permaculture garden. And I will give you several reasons why. Oh my goodness. I started recording and then suddenly the garbage pickup decided to come. And there are 3 points that are very, very loud close to my house, and I had to wait for them to finish. Now, the garbage truck is still off in the distance, but now I'm hearing some sort of machinery in the background, some heavy vehicle. I'm hearing its reverse beeping, it's pounding on something. So I apologize for all the noise in the background. I can't stop it. So, getting back to the containers. Well, why do I use containers? Well, one, which really isn't 100% related to permaculture, is that the containers are portable. So if an area is too hot for the plants that are in that container, I can move that container into the shade. Or if there's not enough sun, I can move the container into the sun. Seasonally, I can rearrange the containers. It gets really cold on this mountain in the winter time. Not your average cold. It is a windy, windy cold. So many times I will bring the more sensitive plants indoors. I really like to have tomatoes and cucumbers and other vegetables in the wintertime, and they will not grow outside. No, they just won't. And I'm not even sure that they will grow in an unheated greenhouse here. So I bring those plants indoors. My house is built in such a way that it's south facing, and I have very, very large sliding doors letting in all that sunlight. And that's great because I bring the plants in, and throughout the winter, plants that won't survive outside will survive inside, and I can still benefit from the vegetables. Another advantage to having these containers is that I don't have to replant starts. I can seed directly into the containers. Now, that's not necessarily permaculture. So let's get into the reasons why containers are still very connected to permaculture. One, you see the plastic around this containers? Yeah, those condensate every night. So it heats up in the daytime, condensates at night. Guess what's happening? There's water. Maybe it's a tiny little bit of a sip, but still it's water. So I am actually using the containers as a water collection system in my garden. 2, 3. Sorry, the third reason. The third reason is that each plant type has a different water requirement. My fruit trees have different water requirements than tomato plants. And tomato plants have different water requirements from broccoli, who have a different water requirement from lettuce or carrots. Some vegetables require less water, some vegetables require more water. And in this way, I can control the water for the vegetables without disturbing my trees too much. Let me explain. I am training my trees to receive as little water as possible throughout the summer. Yep, it can be done, and I'm doing it. And it's not just a matter of can they survive a summer. No, I want them to thrive. So I have to train them. My older trees can go without water for 2 months in the heat of the summer, and they won't die. considering that they're already setting their fruit and everything in the springtime, they get plenty of winter water from the rains. But in the summertime, after they have fruited, they don't require as much water. So those trees I would like to maintain. For those trees, I would like to maintain the ability to survive without constant watering in the summertime. And the younger trees I am bringing up to behave in the same way. If I have vegetables in the ground, in between the trees, etc., I would be watering the ground, and I would have to water that ground every day. So, as a way to avoid that, I have my plants in containers. Now, the interesting thing is, my containers have at least one, if not two, large holes about that size in the bottom of them. These long rectangle containers that you see. Hold on, let me show you. Those containers have holes in them, in the bottoms, which means that they still have access to the soil, which means that the plants still have access to the microbes and the worms, etc. But those holes are placed strategically enough that the water doesn't go straight out. It goes through the soil, and the water doesn't go straight down through to the bottom. It touches the bottom of the container, and then it has to seep out. So, and if you notice by where I placed the containers, they're along the walkway and less by the roots of the trees. So the watering is one reason why I have these containers. Another reason is that nutritional requirements differ between plants. Trees have a different nutritional requirement than tomatoes or lettuce or corn, or whether it be in the fungi to bacterial ratios, the acidity levels. They have different microbes. They have different requirements, and so keeping the vegetables in the containers means that I can control the difference in those nutritional requirements. And another reason, and this is the most important reason to have my vegetables growing in containers, and that is vegetables require a lot of soil disturbance. And I don't want to disturb the soil, especially around the roots of my trees. So I keep the vegetables in the containers so that I do not have to disturb the soil any more than necessary. When you grow carrots, you pull the carrots out of the ground, you're disturbing the soil. When you dig up potatoes, you're disturbing the soil. I do have some vegetables directly in the ground, mainly greens like lettuce, beets, radishes, things like that, but not very many because they require a lot of water. In the wintertime, I will plant them. So I will have some lettuce indoors and I will have some lettuce outdoors, some lettuce on my deck in a container, some lettuce down on the ground close to the trees. Not everything can I do that with, and therefore I have my containers. And lastly, weed suppression. Yep, you know I love weeds in my garden. I do. I think they're fantastic. I love weeds in the garden. I love weeds growing up around my trees, growing up around my bushes. They bring nutrients up from the ground. I trim them. I feed my rabbits. The chickens eat them. I love my weeds. I chop and drop. They make great mulch. But vegetables do not like weeds. And so when I put them in a container, it is easier to control the weeds. So my vegetables don't have to compete with the weeds. And these are the reasons why I use containers in my permaculture garden. So if you find a use for containers in your garden, but you're afraid that it won't work with the permaculture principles, please know that it can. It can very well work with permaculture principles. When you know the principles, you will find all kinds of tools that will become useful to you. Until next time.